Welcome back to another podcast. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Our last 30, a podcast about life, death, and everything in between. Today, we have another special guest. We're pretty excited. We got some big things happening, Cesar. We just celebrated 9,000 subscribers, just over 9,000. So, when you think about non-funding, we're funded by ourselves.
Yeah.
and we're doing this on weekends and vacation days, and really just trying to provide this great resource. So thank you guys all for listening and subscribing and for commenting and reaching out to us directly. It's greatly appreciated.
What did you say last week?
I don't know.
Hearting it?
Yeah, and hearting it. If you heart this, apparently it's not an option. I don't know. The point is, I learned how to TikTok earlier this week, and my 12-year-old daughter had to help me. Special guest. Super thankful for that 12-year-old technician. But we're going to get started. We have a special guest. It's a former supervisor of mine. Yeah, he was my boss way back in the early 90s. Gerry Phelan is here with us live, and excited to get your perspective. Gerry, welcome to our podcast. Thanks for listening and subscribing. Super appreciative of your support. Tell the listeners who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Yeah, before I go into that, happy 4th of July. So you mentioned you do your time off. You're doing it on the holidays as well. So that's a testament to your commitment to this guy. So congrats. So 9,000 subscribers. I remember sitting in front of the TV. I don't remember how many months ago. I was sitting at like 32, and I was like, "Damn!" But it was entertaining at the time. But I almost kind of felt sorry for you for a little bit. But that went away real quick because the substance was spot on.
Sure.
So I do appreciate that. So happy 4th to everybody as well. I'm Gerry Phelan. I have known Freddie, Fuentes, Dr. Fred, and some other things, names I won't say on this podcast, but maybe after a couple drinks there, Cesar, we could talk about those, but that's a different story. But that being
said,
we'll
talk about those off camera.
We're going to find an opportunity to go visit him there in Florida.
Yeah. But really, it's been a blessing to know you, Fred. Just from that point, he's been a coach, a mentor of mine from a subordinate standpoint, if that makes sense. I'm always been a firm believer, and even on the plaque when I left the company back in the day, is I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I've always admitted that. So I think any good leader that is worth their salt, smart enough to step back and understand there's a lot of growth to be those that can be had with those that are working for you and with you. So, but a little bit about me. Grew up in a house of Irish Catholic folks in Portland, Oregon. 7 kids. I was number 5 out of 7. Pretty much grew up, I don't know what the definition, and I still really don't understand that definition of poor. I listened to a couple of your podcasts, and some folks said, I grew up poor, and trying to give that definition. I think I think it's relative to some degree. I don't want to sound like, that sounds somewhat like a cop-out, when you say it that way, but it really isn't, because I really didn't think of myself as a kid as not having anything. But in retrospect, you sit back and you talk to other folks, even those that you went to school with. Like I said, Catholic, I was fortunate to go to Catholic grade school and high school. But there's a story with that as well that we can, if you remind me to plug that, I could talk through that. How we got there with 7 kids. Dad worked his butt off. He had 3 jobs. Mom worked as a housekeeper. She'd go and clean houses to put bread on the table. But I was just hard working. I did, that's just a way of life, right? You didn't question it. You didn't think, oh gosh, this is hard. Wow, why do we have to go through all that? It was just day-to-day life, right? And so, you had your sibling rivalries. My brothers would beat the crap out of me when they felt like it. I was the youngest brother. or youngest son rather. He and his brother as well. 2 older sisters, 2 older brothers, and 2 younger sisters. So one of 3 boys and the other girls. But we would we just get along, because mom and dad were always at work, so we'd fend for ourselves to some degree. So that's a little bit about me growing up in Portland, Oregon. Going through Catholic high school, there's a lot of money behind that. It's like a business. And I saw that, and I'll go back to the grade school issues, where to pay our tuition, because we didn't have the money, we worked for it. I remember first grade, I was going to the grade school, cleaning the chalkboards and going to the church and the rectory and cleaning the pews and all that stuff. And I was a kid. Some nowadays would probably call that child labor or whatever it is, but it was what we did so that we could give back to the institution that was giving us a good education. Mm-hmm. And I always thought that was a good trade-off, right? I mean, that's how I learned. You're given to receive. So in order to receive, you always got to give a little bit back, man. You can't just sit back and go, okay, it's just give and give. Life is always a two-way street, man. We all know that. And anybody that's ever been in a relationship knows that. Whether it's a family relationship or a partnership, there's always a give and take. So I kind of learned that at an early age, and I knew what fights to fight, if that makes sense. And those fights for me were always what I thought the right side, And I didn't care what it was. If I saw my brothers and sisters fighting, and I know my brother started it, I'm gonna say straight up when the parents ask, yeah, Tom started it. I'm not gonna call me a snitch, whatever. No, dude, own up to it. You did it, own up to it. And so, was that taught to me from my parents? No, it was just a way. It's one of those. What I believe to be a good human being and what you think is right. I really have thought hard about that one. Where does that goodness come from? That right and wrong. Where does it truly come from? I'm all over the place on it. I could ask you guys. You're well educated. There's probably a good answer to that. But there's others who wouldn't agree with you. They just it's either it's in you or it's not. Or is it a learned behavior or is it not? I'm all over the place on that one because, and that's where I look to you guys to kind of guide the conversation to say, hey, yeah, Gerry, we concur and not, but only from that institutional knowledge place. Because I know life has always taught me that if I do the right thing, everything's gonna be all right. Will it be easy? Oh, hell no. Because we all know taking the wrong path sometimes is much easier.
Absolutely.
But can you look at yourself in the mirror, right? And feel good about yourself. That's where that, again, tying in mental health, right? You start questioning yourself and did I do right? And where does all that pressure come from, man? So anyway, as a kid growing up, working for that education, and I had to do the same in high school. And I remember going to the principal there at the school, the Monsignor of the school, and basically begging for money. $485 a year and I remember that's $485. I remember that distinctly, going in and asking for that. Can you help me to pay for this year? And I did that every year. I'd go talk to the same thing, have the same spiel, or maybe a little more mature outlook on it. But that's the only way I got through high school. That's how we all did, because we gave back to the church in one way, or shape, or form. Mm-hmm. So. That's kind of how I grew up to that. I remember in high school, everybody at this high school, Catholic, private, a good chunk of them are going to college. They got the money to pay for it. We ain't got no money to pay for it. I have older brothers and sisters that went to college on scholarships and Pell Grants and borrowing, even back in the day. This is a long time ago. This is the late 70s, 80s. So those struggles have always been there, right, for everybody. They're just, again, I could talk about relevance, and it really is. It's all at all different levels. So that was not one of my major drivers. I didn't want to really go to college right out of high school. I had this burning desire to travel and see the world, but I wanted to become a cop too. Where that came from, again, I think it was always trying to do right for the world. What can I give back, and what issues I see as a kid growing up, and how I can help that. I go back to that childhood. I remember going and walking to the park, and we were predominantly a black neighborhood, so we were pretty much the only white family that lived in this neighborhood. There were some older white folks that lived in the area because they'd been there forever, So, but their kids growing up, they didn't stay. They all moved out and moved away. But I remember, I still have vivid images of me on the baseball field and being the only white guy on the team. Now, that is never, the only time I began to reflect on that, as early as I could believe, was my mom and I were sitting on the stoop, out front, just talking, and people were driving by, and, I was one car full of blacks come by, they slow down and they flip us off and, call us, white folk, and hey, what the fuck, white patty, they're just, the shit, they just flip us off, and I look at my mom, and she looks at me, and we just laugh, and they go. But that was probably the earliest that I thought, oh wow, I am a little different, huh? So it really never came relevant, and even early on, I had these encounters with just some great people like that, and come to find out, yeah, they're not the same color as me. And it's interesting, and I don't know how I'm going down this. It's a little bit about me, right?
Yeah.
It never dawned on me. But it wasn't until my older brothers and older sisters who pointed out, why are you always hanging out with them? Why are you always hanging out with this? Why? I'm like, what do you mean? They're friends of mine. I'm exaggerating for effect, right? We do things because they're black, Gerry. It's like, oh, I didn't realize that kind of thing.
I thought they were my friends. I didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm grade school, and that's how I processed. They're my friends, and thank God they didn't try to pound it in my head, saying no, that it's bad. But it was, I think, probably an innocent question on their part too.
Yeah.
It probably was. I never really saw any systemic racism in the family. It was just what we didn't do. We kind of stuck to our own kind, so to speak. But Gerry didn't. I didn't. And I think that kind of laid out who I was and what I wanted to do. And I thought I had a greater calling to do something for the community or the world, in a crazy way. So.
No, I appreciate that, and I believe that to be true. I will say this. You said the late 70s and 80s were a long time ago. Don't ever say that again. I will not accept.
They were for me. I don't know. I was born in 96. So.
Dang! 96. Wait, what were we?
You weren't even a twinkle in the eye.
No.
What were we doing in 96?
I don't want to know.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
1996.
I almost have. Well, my grandkids are quite as old as you, Cesar, but they're inching up on you, man.
Yeah.
And I will not subject you to who they are, where they live, because they're granddaughters. Anyway.
That's right. No, you said early on, that a lot of our guests, and us including, talk about that perspective of poverty, and I think when everyone that we get along with, you start realizing we share this similar interpretation of childhood, right? None of us, if you will, had all access to resources. The people we know in all parts of the United States kind of grew up quite humble. And maybe that's a better reference, right? The humility of not having a lot, of the American spirit, North American, right? So we're Canadians and Mexicans in that beautiful picture of making do with not a whole lot. And you start talking about what those countries look like, in the world for that matter, Gerry, during that period, post United States coming through a lot of, coming through Vietnam, Korea, and trying to find itself. And for the most part, Americans, aside from probably some people in the larger cities, didn't have a whole lot. If you grew up in a rural community, you survived with trade, with bartering, with favors. Present day, if you were to say, my child or grandchild goes to a Catholic school here in the DFW, that means, for the most part, big money. The likelihood of going to Catholic school and not having some serious access, and there are even levels to Catholic school here in the DFW. There's some that offer some scholarships, and there's some that I would argue probably are never going to offer any type of scholarship because it keeps things going just the way they want it to go, right? There's parts of every community in the United States where maybe they don't want to see a whole lot of other individuals. And so I think that's really our guess and even our perspective. I say I was poor, but I didn't know that till later on in life when someone told me I was poor. I never once as a young person or my parents said, so son, you realize we were teenage parents and we were currently living in abject poverty. It was later on in life like, oh wow, we didn't have a whole lot. We kind of ate, for us, easy access, bean tacos and that kind of stuff.
Can I ask you a question though related to that?
Yeah.
Is that important to know? Poverty, poor, seriously, because I'm still struggling with that. I don't know if it's relevant. That's me. I don't know.
Yeah. For me, it's relevant because I believe that it builds up as the baseline for resilience. It's what says, listen, Fred, if you've already done that, I'm not afraid to be poor, Jerry. So in other words, I make moves, life moves, not fearful of losing it all. I don't give a fuck about this house, my car. I care about my health and my family. And so if returning to poverty means I live in a van, in my car, but with my family, bring it. I'm not afraid of poverty. And the people I know, the reason they use it as this kind of pride point is I went from that to this. It's no different than I went from an E1, E2, early entry-level military person, soldier for us, military policeman, to a first sergeant. And when you share that story, someone could say, is it relevant to mention that you were a private? I'm saying that we were all once in the same shoes. We all started off as an E1, E2. Jerry retired E8, E9. And there's a beauty in one remembering what it felt like and a fucking absolutely beauty in connecting to someone else who's going through that same shit right now. That's how I use it. How would you answer, how would you respond to?
I mean, honestly, I feel like it is and it isn't. I think the way that you view yourself and the way that you interact with the people around you is what's going to dictate. For me, yeah, I grew up the same way. I didn't have everything, but for me, being poor wasn't. Give me a second, I don't know what happened over here.
Yeah, I just lost you.
Yeah, there you go. 3, 2, 1. So for me, what I was saying, being poor for me wasn't not having what to eat or whatever, or being rich. I'm sorry, putting it in that perspective. For me, having my family there, for me being healthy, that's what rich was to me. So I don't put that poor or that humble beginnings or whatever into it. Yeah, and it's good to remember where you were, but I don't think it's important
to hold you back.
To hold it back, yeah, exactly, or to continue to look back there because you left that past.
Baby, come on.
And it's what we've talked about in different episodes. Like
you can't go forward. You guys have emphasized that many times. So.
No, and I think, but that's a great point, Jerry, because I think some people live there.
Yeah,
I think some people, and we talk about it oftentimes, a poverty mindset. I'm not talking about money.
That's different. Yeah, exactly. That poverty mindset is very different.
I'm talking like, bro, you stuck in some shit. If you don't navigate your way out of it, you will never navigate your way out of it.
Yep.
I just cannot simplify it or complicate it enough that the mind is so powerful that if you think you're dumb, you're dumb. And if you think you're smart, you got to be smart. And so we joke in our house, but it's not so much of a joke. We have fun with it because we don't want people to think of us as being weird on the lack in humility. But we do positive affirmations in our home, Gerry. We in front of the mirror, like, hey, no matter what happens today, brother.
I thought you were going to go somewhere else. It's going to be, you're so tall. You're super tall. You're a giant. I thought that's where you were going with that. Okay, never mind. Continue.
Hey,
my bad.
Hey, I said positive affirmation. I ain't going to lie to myself now. You're going to go to the NBA. You're going to go to the NBA. No. I go in there. When I'm brushing my teeth in the morning, I finish up. I look and I say stuff silently and I say stuff out loud. Mm. I said, man, you're a handsome guy, man, for what it's worth, right? Hey, you know what? You've done well, Fred. I'm proud of you. And that's hard, dude.
It is.
Yeah. That's hard to say to yourself sometimes.
Oh, yeah. You're talking to this is really where not having the formal education to defend this piece. Mm-hmm. But I will tell you that this is almost generational because I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do it. It really is tough to do the pat on the back. It's just it's not who I am. It's not in the DNA. It really is not. Should it be to some degree? Absolutely. Because to your point, hell, I'm damn near 65, man, and I struggle to say, man, you've done pretty damn good. And when you have it repeated to you and other people say, it's even more humbling to say,
yeah, man.
Because, and I don't know where this comes from. Could be the brilliant, Catholic education I had for all those years. I don't know if it's, whether it was subliminally just put in there, no, and that guilt, you always got to do better. I don't know. I don't know where that comes from, but it can be, it could be devastating sometimes because you got to be able to pull yourself out of that, man. Because if you live in that, and knowing you have it all, and now I can see, because I've been kind of down there, bro. I can see where those people that have everything, and that we, see from the outside, the cars, the fame, the women, the men, whatever it is that people achieve or try to achieve and look to strive to have, is all right there. But yet, they end up taking their own lives because we don't know what the hell is going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think that's powerful. I think. For me, you're just mentioning it. I think it is generational. It's something that we weren't taught how to do. Specifically, talking about men, I felt the same way. What I just related, and that just brought back memories of what you were saying. Whenever my dad passed away, I always thought that I needed to be better. I always thought that I needed to do this. I always thought that I needed to strive to do something better. After he passed away, I learned that he was bragging to his whole family about me. I'm so proud of him. I'm doing this, but he couldn't tell me to my face, He wasn't able to tell us. So for me, I'm like, damn, he's not able to tell me, or he hasn't told me he's proud, or he hasn't said I'm doing a good job or whatever. But it's not because he didn't see it or he didn't really thought about it. He was telling others because he couldn't tell me. So I think it's a generational thing that we carry. And if we don't change that, I think it's going to continue to affect our generations. And it's a very hard. I hate getting complimented. I hate people telling me you're doing a good job. I absolutely hate it. I don't know how to react.
Yeah, no.
I'm just like,
listen. He's my homeboy. I try to compliment the guy. He can't handle it.
He absolutely not.
He gives me. Listen, Gerry. He's no different than you are in someone trying to compliment you. Your first I think a lot of it is caution. It's self-protecting.
Yeah.
You talk about generational. That population has survived. Okay, let's separate. Let's say our fathers survived because they were like that.
Yeah.
You could not, brother, could our fathers and grandfathers have walked in front of the mirror and say, you, whatever the hell I'm trying to say, hell no.
Wait. Did I just see you? You almost shared what you tell yourself in the mirror? Is that you almost?
He was about to.
Yeah, that would have been special. That would have been special.
I mean, he is a special boy. He is a special boy.
Those populations, we joke, but there's truth and beauty to it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
When you talk about that American grit, the resilience, the being able to overcome, it never was a feel sorry for me. It never was victimhood. It never was, how come the Smiths have that and we ain't got that? And that's what I think. Now let me sound like an angry old veteran. And that's what's wrong with a lot of the young people and how they engage. 3, 2, 1, they're
what the fuck are you doing?
There's a fucking fly in my fucking coffee. You put that on the fucking bloopers.
No, I'm gonna put it on the episode.
Shit right there. Yeah, that's awesome.
Listen, okay.
I'm leaving that on.
No, Caesar. Listen, what I was gonna say is like, the beauty of being able to navigate past that makes it so difficult for us today as men to have these feelings. And you're not alone, Gerry. The majority of the men who listen to us say things along the lines of like, listen, guys, I appreciate you. I like what you're doing. It's just not me. Mm-hmm. Ain't no way I'm going to sit there and say these things and do these things. And what we're saying is we're just trying to minimize the regret later on in life. All I'm trying to say is, Gerry, that when we ask people to pause the video, man up, and send that text to your wife, to your daughters, to your sons, if you're lucky enough, to your parents, if they're living, or whatever the situation is, and just thank them. Or make it a little bit more personal and say, oh man, it's the things I could say to my children. It's just like, I actually get emotional thinking like, I really fucked up as a dad, man. And that's my message to other fathers. Like, dude, I'm no different, Caesar. Mm-hmm. Other men feel the same way. Yeah. We're just better at masking it. And actually, back to your point, you could look around your community at people who have figured it out, who have it all and in excess, and they're still not happy, Gerry. Yeah. So all that shit ain't gonna bring you happiness. No. Listen, you can only drive one car at a time. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I wouldn't want a garage that had a couple of cars, but baby, I got a garage and I don't even put my car in it. You see what I'm saying? And so like I like my car. I don't need much more than a car. Would it be nice? But your point is, you probably, somebody envied that guy, and he was envying your life.
I was about to say they envy what they have and they envy what they see, but they wouldn't envy the person that he Absolutely. Is or the struggles that he's dealing with behind closed doors.
No, man. I say it all the time. Like, have your opinions about the politicians and the billionaires in the world. You don't want their life, man. You don't want to never be able to sleep. Gerry, I get to go to sleep. If I check my email before I go to bed and I wake up, the world is not resting on my shoulders like it is the U.S. president of any era, like the governor of your state wherever you're listening today, right? Or whatever. My priority is my family and their safety. Mm-hmm. So before I go to bed, I have my safety accountability too. Check the back door, check the front door. Is this loaded? Is this ready to go? Matter of fact, I'm gonna be honest with you. Not only do I have a Kel-Tec bullpup shotgun locked and loaded, ready for a pretty little pow if you come into my house. Also, I have a spear because I don't know. I just kind of felt like I'm gonna spear someone if they break into my home. I don't want to shoot them. That's so 2010. I want to put a...
It's so Texan. Yeah, it's so
Texan. I got a fear, man, that I want to hit somebody with if you break into my home, is my point. So aside from, I'm being silly here, but aside from that little safety component of keeping my family safe, all I'm saying is you don't want those lives.
No.
I'm happy with my life. And though I, as a man, I do try to work hard to be a better father, a better husband, a better brother, a better friend, a better colleague. Now that I'm happy, Jerry, and I'm happy today, I'm a better employee than I was 10 years ago when I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
Real shit. And our happiness also affects, if it affects our colleagues at work, it's got to be affecting our children. And that's why I get a little emotional when I think about the mistakes I made as a father, because who I was as a father while in the Army, going through a bunch of shit, like, you don't have control of your life in the Army. Jerry, you know that, right? We are subject to what our first sergeant and captain said. and listen, and he was my first sergeant. Okay, so if he said, no, we're going to work this weekend, like we work every weekend. No, you're going to run 8 miles Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Like, but I don't want to run 8 miles Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Like, we're running 10K, right? 6 to 8 miles. So I just say all that because I hear what you're saying, Jerry, but I also know that deep down inside, the men that we're engaging with are trying to figure out a way to still feel like a man, but also be able to share with the people they love as we prepare to leave a legacy for others. And we're on the other side of that. I don't want to use the word spectrum, because when I use the word spectrum, Cesar has he has some inside jokes that he wrote.
No, they're not inside. Everybody knows about them. Everybody knows you're definitely on the spectrum, bro.
Cut that. Okay, so what I'm saying is that when you look at birth to death, Jerry, men of our age are on that last part of impact. So now it's time for real shit on words and real shit on actions. And that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah. Nice.
So I might say I'm poor, I might not. I might look at right now and acknowledge that the level of happiness. That's a life lesson that I'm intentional about saying. When I'm in a bad mood, my daughter comes up to me, Dad, this and that, whatever. I turn around, I check myself, turn around, and I hug her, and tell them I love them, because I'm afraid. I'm afraid that today's my last day, or tragically, it could be your child's last day. We were lucky in that we didn't go to children's funerals, but parents who are listening today did go to have to prepare and go through that, and I don't wish that upon anyone. So that's all I'm trying to do. That's kind of our perspective, is when our parents passed away, we just got to where we were drinking and talking about it and listening to music in the background, and always it was same kind of music, same kind of drink, same kind of mood, and the end result was, let's create a podcast and just, you said, like, early on, I felt bad for y'all. You had 30 subscribers. Like, dude, you should have seen there when we had 2. He was one and I was the other.
Literally.
And he thought about unsubscribing many times.
I'm thought about unsubscribing since episode 1. I just can't deal with you no more.
But anyways, I say all that because, like, you're right on, man. You're right on with the dilemma and difficulty of where we're at with our self-story and our legacy, man, and that legacy that we're trying to leave behind.
Yeah. So I've really had that's pretty deep, guys, and again, this is why I think you guys have done. That's why you're at 9,000 and probably going to just balloon up to 900,000 here in short time.
Let's hope so.
Because just that, and that's just saying, really, why are you doing it? For obviously, selfish reasons, right? But at the same time, making the world a better place, right? And that's the one thing, when I say selfish, I smiled when I said that. But I learned a long time ago, I used to convince myself the actions that I made were always for others, right? I was doing this to make a better place. I was doing this to make sure that our company, as a first sergeant, was certainly prepared, because there was that 2 things. It was train for war, go to war. That was it. That was my mentality, and that's where we went to. And even when I transitioned into the federal government, or working for DHS, doing the same thing, trying to make the world a better place. It was two things. It was train for war, go to war, and I put that all in a package for myself. That's how I justified my existence. That I'm trying to make this world a better place. But oh, by the way, who suffered in the short term and the long term? It was my children. And I had this conversation in that, got divorced at a fairly young age. Gosh, I was 30 years old, I think, when I got divorced. Two young kids at the time. It was a tough, but it wasn't until my oldest daughter was older, who I had a great relationship with, but when we parted, that, of course, the distance didn't help the relationship. But just fast forward when I have a one-on-one with her, and she's raising her own kids, and we're having a conversation, that tension had been there for a long time. That she would never tell me, Dad, or ask me, why did you leave me? That kind of thing. But I knew it was there. And I remember asking that, basically why. She asked me why, and I told her just like that. And I, to this date, still believe it. That basically I was out there trying to save the world. And I know people think, oh my God, how grandstanding, etc. But really, that's what drove me for a total of 42 years between Army and Federal service. So that's justifying my existence. I simplify it like that, and then you become the question as we gain, on that spectrum, right? That we're all on the spectrum, Caesar, regardless of whether you're going to deny it or not.
Oh no, I know.
It's all relevant. It's all relevant.
Oh, I know I am. I can admit it. I can admit it. Over here, Mr. Artistic.
Oh, sorry. So this is thrown. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Artistic over here says this. So yeah,
Mr. Artistic.
That's what he calls it.
You said you talked about the selfishness side of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to admit my selfishness here. I want to leave my voice back, man.
Yeah.
I know that when this is all said and done, and I mean this thing we call life, 5-10 years down the road, I'd like for my kids to be able to be like, I want to hear my dad.
Absolutely.
Nice.
And that goes a long way, man. And the same, I think the same is true for you, that in 5 or 10 years, if we're not here, your daughters will be able to be like, I want to hear my dad's voice, man. Or maybe they meet someone new that said, oh, my dad was this guy, he gave so much of this country and selfless, not selfish, selfless. And I wish you could hear his voice one more time. I'd like to introduce you to my father. Here's a little video. This is just a little 45-minute, 1-hour video. You get an idea of who my dad was. And we don't have that of our grandfathers, of our fathers.
No.
Right?
No.
We don't know what life was like from my family's perspective. We know what the history book says. Hey, in Oregon in the 1920s, 100 years ago only, it looked like this. Cool black and white photo, but I don't know what it smelled like, felt like. I don't know what the weather was like. Was it cooler, hotter? What was the people like? I don't know any of that, Gerry. And so the selfish piece of this is, in years down the road, if our family wants to be able to make a quick reference, or even for us, for that matter, to go back and like, man, what was I even saying? I don't remember our engagements as far as like voice, I remember I looked up to you and I was so thankful that you were a mentor and a boss, but we don't have video evidence of us.
I'm glad you don't have video evidence.
on a run or something. Like, we did some crazy runs, man.
Yeah.
This guy made us carry a fucking footlocker. Okay? Water jugs, man. An intentional imbalance to figure out how to work as a team. Shut up and work as a team was the concept, right?
Yeah.
And so time after time, adapt and overcome. And on our walls, painted was, we we train for war, we go to war. And he's not fucking around, man. And so that was life in that period. Probably, Jerry, things you can't do today in this man's army.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
Right?
I have those conversations that tell me that, yeah, it would be a very toxic environment, as they would call that.
100%.
Quote, yeah.
100%. We are the representation of a military toxicity or male toxicity or whatever it is, which I think is comical. But and I only say that because you want to take a couple guys back, you put a couple of veterans together. It's no different than your fraternity, Caesar. Like the intentional brotherhood, a serious moment.
Yep.
For us, there was sometimes we had fun. That's why he's smiling. Fraternity is a whole lot of fun, a couple of serious moments. And I'm not saying in the military we didn't have a couple of moments of fun, but it was real life shit, man.
I've heard a lot about those fun moments that y'all had.
and you talk about like what was prepped, how we prepped, and the real life missions that were happening, and even the transition from garrison to a fighting force. The MPs. Yeah. Like we wrote the SOP, edited, helped turn 9 millis, right? Guys with 9 millis into guys with Mark 19s.
Yeah.
Shit, man.
Yeah. That's funny you bring that up because that's a telling story. I was actually having this similar conversation with a good friend of mine here. He was a veteran as well, retired as a SFC. He was a medic, I can't remember what aviation medic. One of those that they only go with those life flight ones. Is it special? Definitely. And we were talking about that relationship between, you working in that shop, he was working at the brigade headquarters. Basically, it's a higher level of an organization as a senior NCO, guiding young lieutenants right out of college. And that relationship of somebody who's seasoned, who has almost 20 years, and somebody who has, maybe 3 years of ROTC exposure in a boot camp, and that's it. So that relationship of coaching and mentoring and just having to be is all trust, right? That's what you're trying to instill. And I don't care what level of the organization and how does that translate to the rest of those viewers that have never been in the military? It's like raising a family. It's a level of trust. It's like raising a family. I equate that. Would I do that to my kids? Yeah, I would. Would I call it tough love? Absolutely. But what's the end game? Is to provide so that they can operate this gauntlet of craziness in the world on their own and not have to rely on anyone. Have the skill sets to be able to go out there and take care of themselves. And by the way, if they have a family, take care of that family as well. And that was always my mindset of how can I better posture those in any environment that worked for me for a better environment. Now, this is where I think I was schooled, going through some mental health issues, along the way. Counseling, sitting in a counselor who basically identified, Jerry, that's very selfish on your part. To that, right or wrong, I really had struggled with. I always thought I was doing it for the rest of the world, right? Is that what makes me who I am? And that's where I get the joy from, and I can relate to that and go, yeah, I do get that joy from watching those that I've been able to coach and mentor and teach, watch them raise up and go out and do great things for themselves and their families. That's always been a big push of mine. Is it selfish? I don't know. I asked you that, but I was kind of told that I was, and that's who I am, and that's kind of selfish on your part to be that when in fact you had this family you could have been with the entire time. So that's a tough one that I have to beat myself up on all the time.
I hear you, man. It's hard though, but if you talk to any first responder, any police officer, anyone who has a leadership role where it pulls you from the home, they would align right there with you, having that difficulty of trust me, I love my family. You're everything to me, and yet the duality of I also love working in the community, and at a certain point, and this is hard, the community might show more appreciation or might verbalize, oh my God, thank you so much, Mr. Phelan. Oh, thank you, Mr. Quesada. Oh, thank you, Mr. Fuentes. You are just an amazing, oh, this guy, he's such a great teacher. He's such a great, and sometimes in the home, it becomes second nature, or sometimes you do hear it, and they say it and we don't hear it. Like, listen, it's complicated.
It's very complicated, but I also believe that if you weren't selfish and putting that perspective into it first, you wouldn't be the person that you were to your family.
100%.
If you're not the person that you want to be, if you're not enjoying, we talk about this a lot, if you're not enjoying what you do, if you don't enjoy your work, if you don't enjoy the people that you're helping, the people that you're uplifting, you cannot give that to your family. You're not able to provide that to your family because you're bitter, because you feel that you can be doing something better, or you can be doing something different. So, I mean, yeah, it's a little selfish in a sense that that family, maybe you didn't have enough time to be with the kids growing up or whatever. But at the same time, that selfishness,
Yeah, I got
is what led you to be the parent, the grandparent that you are now.
Here's where I have trouble with that one, though. So I watch a lot of podcasts too, and I read a lot of books about the guy, the big dogs, right? Let's just say, fill in the blank of who the big dogs are, politically, musically, artistically, just entrepreneurship. They had a partner at home, Gerry, that supported them and offset the guilt and the perceived selfishness. Maybe even took on a stronger role in the home, right? So that leader, male or female, could go make that money, and then the family comes up at once, all together. But if you had a father, for example, we're all men on the podcast today. You had a father who was an entrepreneur, insurance salesman, and couldn't dedicate all of the time to his craft. You wouldn't have the resources that you would have if he was able to dedicate all of his time to that craft. And sometimes, particularly as young men, finding that balance is not something we had figured out early on. Later on in life, oh my God, at 52, I could tell you some beautiful life lessons. At 24, you couldn't tell me anything. I thought, you know what I mean? Like, listen, I'm a newlywed. I know how this works. Like, you have no idea. You're doing that the wrong way. And so that's kind of the difficulty. Like, I don't know the answer, man. I just know the way I lived, and I was lucky that I had a spouse where we communicated well enough to where it's like, hey, I need to dedicate more time to my craft. And my craft is giving to the community. And it could later on in life come across as doing too much for the community and not enough for
exactly. No.
And I've been accused of that as well.
And that's exactly what we're saying. I mean, that's exactly that. You got to be selfish on whatever you want to do and whatever you want to accomplish first to be able to take care of that. Yeah, it is going to be difficult. Even me, I'm not married. Thankfully, I'm not married yet. I don't have any kids. But the time that I dedicate to my work, the time that I dedicate to the podcast, the time that I dedicate to the organization, to all the other things that I'm doing to be able to provide a better life or a better resource for the community, I'm missing time out with my nieces and nephews. I'm not spending enough time with my mom, my brother, and my sister. But at the same time, the person that I've become from doing all of this is a much better person than I was prior to it.
Right.
So you gotta. It's a balance where it's very difficult.
So let me ask you this, Gerry. So on that same note, what advice do you give to the 28? You said you were divorced at 30, right? 31,
yep.
Around there. So what advice are you giving to the 28, 29-year-old? That's your age.
I'm listening.
He just turned 29 the other day.
Right.
What advice are you giving to the 29-year-old Gerry and other men in that situation?
In that situation, whether it's married or not.
Married and giving too much to your craft.
Yeah, I'm not a guy that likes to say I regret
Same.
So
I hate
that's a tough one. I
but
wouldn't say that. Yeah, I wouldn't say that because I don't. But again, to your point, and I think that a lot of the podcasts that you guys are putting out, you got to be true to yourself, right?
Yep.
And that's kind of what I'm hearing you say, Caesar, as well. And that's my one statement. Be true to yourself, and only you can answer that. Now, can I help you answer the different scenarios that you want to put through your life? Absolutely. I'd be there for you to help you. I'd ask the ways that you could really drill down and really understand yourself, and are you really doing what's best for you? And sometimes doing best for you is doing better for somebody, somebody as well. Because there is that time where you can't be selfish if you have to think of somebody else. There are times where being selfish, really, I can't define it any other way than the old golden rule, man. Really, if I'm in that position and I could use the help, and I'm going to give it to you, man. I'm going to give it to you. If it even hurts me, the old, sure off my back, yeah, I'll do that, because it'll pay it forward. It'll come back. Whether it's karma, whatever you want to call it, guys, it doesn't matter. I know it's right. Back to my earlier conversation, it's always just doing what I think is right. And that's I know it sounds cheesy, and I don't have any metric to defend that statement. I don't have anything to say that that's the best advice you'll ever get, Caesar. But just, and I know you already know that, because you're obviously a pretty intelligent guy, and you got great humor. I'm not so sure, your looks and your dress is doing the thing for everybody else, but, we can talk about that. But really, no, with all sincerity, man, just be true to yourself. You cannot lie to yourself. You can't pretend, man. Stop pretending and just be true. That's the only advice I can give. And I don't care if it's a 29-year-old or a 60-year-old.
Yep.
It's kind of like, thank you for that, Gerry. It's true, right? And I wonder if that's a part of your Catholic tenets and your and grade school and high school that help influence that selfless service to others. Because when you think about the Catholic Church, right, and what they model for their believers and their followers, like, a big part of that, what's modeled by the Pope, particularly at the time, I would imagine Pope John Paul II was a big part of the Catholic Church. That selfless service, and it's so important. I think about also, we just had a guest on, Ed Carroll, and he talked about his perspective was business, and he said, you could have it on your lips, right? You could say the right thing, but if it's not in your heart, it
wasn't about business. It was about your boy. That's exactly what a single one. He said that. So we were talking last week's episode. We were talking about Ed, and he said that he saw a podcast or an interview with Jelly Roll.
That's right.
Where Jelly Roll starts saying, you gotta fucking love Jesus, you gotta love God, whatever. And he's like, yeah, Jelly Roll does not have the lips, because he's dropping F-bombs before he starts praising God and all of this, but he has the heart. He has the heart. He knows what he's talking about. That's what God has of Jelly Roll. So that's where you were trying to get to.
Yeah, it's a unique perspective in
it is.
And doing the right thing.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So you could say all the right things, but if you lack the authenticity, it doesn't mean anything to the people on the receiving end of that.
Yeah. Well, hypocrisy is a huge killer, man. It just negates any credibility you could ever want. I mean, and people see right through it. Most do.
Absolutely.
Well, can you imagine if you had, your local police force or your military fighting force, and their heart wasn't in it? Like I say it all the time. Like, again, I have an older daughter. She's 23, and she asks me a lot of questions. And she's watching the news, and she's like, "Dad, what about this and this?" And I get into my old guy military perspective, and I just reassure her, "Look, man, just look to me. And if I'm not worried about it, ain't nothing to be worried about, okay?" Now, Is there an army or two that by population outnumber us? Certainly. But they can't out-heart the fighting American soldier. You have no idea what we're willing to do to fight for this country. You have no idea. And Gerry, I don't know of another fighting force on this planet right now that will die for those causes. Certain, you might have more numbers, right? And China, India might have, again, they might outpace us 100 to 1 or 1,000 to 1, but their heart's not in it, man. And if your heart's not in it on the battlefield, brother, you fucking with the wrong people. And I'm telling you,
keep in mind it's an all voluntary service, and these guys are not volunteers going in there.
They're not volunteers.
That's a very simple way of saying that. Your heart's not into it. That's well said, because you're absolutely right. And oh, by the way, let's talk about those that have never served that would love to serve. Put somebody else on these grounds. Have them come on in our soil, thinking they're going to change things. Oh, goodness gracious! Yeah, that'd be a whole different conversation. But we don't want to go down that road. So I think you're absolutely right. That's wonderful advice. Yeah, that's wonderful advice you're giving to your daughter. Is, hey, look to me. Yeah. And that's what you as a man, as a father, figure that says, hey, listen, I bring that security. That I look to me, because that's a wonderful trait that you have. I think that we need to emphasize. And unfortunately, people have spun that to be something else other than, I'm exerting myself as a man to be able to make sure that my family and those that I love around me are safe. And
that's
I
right.
Provide that to them. To your point, if you're in that van, yeah, I will still have that nice little shotgun right by my hand, right underneath the glove compartment, ready to pull out if I need to. So,
I say it all the time, Gerry. I tell my children. Two things that I've learned in life. Number one, are you safe? Okay? And number two, are you happy? That I don't care about anything else. And early on in the first part of my life, I just wondered, I was just concerned about their safety. But later on in life, I added, and are you happy?
Yeah.
Because that also means the world to me. And I'll say this, if you don't know us, if you're listening today and all this stuff, you don't know Cesar and I, we joke around a lot, we have a good time. But when it comes time to be serious, we're not the two guys you want to mess with, man. As a matter of fact, I had gone several months without dropping any F-bombs, and today I just felt triggered.
Several months? You dropped it last week, bro. What you mean?
Live on a podcast.
I'm going to clip it and send it to you.
All right, do that. Well, here's the thing. In my little head, I had gone months without saying it.
Very little.
And today, again, I got a little trigger. And my point is that we have a good time and everything's all great. But when it comes down to it, we're going to defend each other, he and I. Again, same with his family. You can joke around. We went to a family gathering today. We were having a good time. But let some shit go down, and that family joins into one. And you're messing with one whole unit.
I'm right.
Okay, and so it's an ant mound, right? You're gonna get hit from all different directions, and that's the beauty of what I found in the military, and I think that was so attractive to young men and women who were seeking that, needing that, or wanting to lead that, And it was just a beautiful time. And I don't know that young men and women going into the military today are going to get that same perspective. I say I don't know. Maybe it is that way. I remember this, Gerry. My drill sergeants were Vietnam era veterans, right? Because I went into the 90s. So I went into the 90s. So that means that those guys had served Vietnam, and then later on they mentored or were the guys from Vietnam that got us through boot camp. And that's a different kind of person. They had seen and experienced and heard and smelled different things, man. And and they were trying to educate us. I remember, I think his name was Major Mosley when he retired. Uh, this guy, just imagine this guy retiring from the military, and he was going to go off and do some other things. I don't remember what he was going to go do, but we were in our unit. They were World War II barracks era housing is where we lived. They were built promptly during World War II. They're in Washington, Fort Lewis, Washington. Those are now have been demolished. You know, as a matter of fact, the building we moved into, which were the new barracks, have also now been demolished. They're now old. So to give you an idea of what we've seen during that small period that I was in, those couple of years where Gerry was my first sergeant. But I think about this gentleman who was retiring. He formed the group together, and you know, I was probably E2, E3, new to the military for the most part. And he said he gave a speech about. It was a very formal speech about transitioning and his service in the military. He had probably done 20 plus years, closer to 30. He was going to be going off to consult or whatever he's going to do. And then he said, now I need you to come a little bit closer. So he did his formalities and probably had the young lieutenants and captains move back away. Then he wanted just to speak to the troops, all right, to the ant mound. And he says, now come here. Let some shit happen around the world. I better be the first motherfucker you call back to come fight with you. And that's the shit that I just love, man. I love that beautiful side of family. That if we're doing whatever, but let you come and cross that street and to try to fuck with my family, whether it's your church family, your fraternity, it's your adopted family, whatever it is, we're not the right guys to do that to. Okay, and so that's what I love, and that's for me one of my better memories of the military. This guy just saying, "Now come a little bit closer. Now between you and me, don't ever let anybody talk to you a certain way. And if it comes down to it, I'm the one you want to bring back to get dirty with, you know." And there's just 100 examples of that, but that stood out for me, Gerry, because that's how you live. That's how you've lived your life. Right? Yeah. That's how we've had our friendship. That's the mentorship you provide. Yeah. And that's what your family knows.
Yeah, and it's one of the things. It's interesting you say that, and I appreciate you sharing that in that perspective as well, because you know there is the message behind it, man. Yeah, you know the old everybody hears that term. You know, I got your six. You know, that really truly understand that where that comes from and what it really means. There's a lot behind that. It's not just a figure of speech, right? It really does mean a lot, and that's where I think a lot of folks could probably take that and really go look at what it means to you when you say, "Hey, I got you back." That's a powerful message. I won't say that unless I mean it, because it really, it's like being asked to be the godfather or the godmother of a good friend of yours or a family member. That's a huge amount of responsibility. You just don't take lightly. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
no, like
I take that. That's how deep it really goes. It is really a religious belief, to tell you the truth, man. Because without it, it's a very hollow world. Very hollow. And that's the message that I really take from that.
Yep.
So
I feel that.
let me ask you this. I mean, just beautiful, man. If you know the whole concept of our podcast, man, is if you had 30 days, get on that same perspective of giving advice. If you were given that diagnosis, you know, oh, Mr. Phelan, you know, this is the situation. You have 30 days left here before you transition. Who are you contacting, and what are you telling them? If anyone.
it's a great question. Number one, I think I've asked a couple of people that as well, because it really is telling, right? Where somebody's head is at, but it is situational. Before I answer that, it depends on when you ask me that, right? It really, where is my headspace at? Like I was telling you, I was a good friend of mine, and we were actually talking last night, similar issues, and he had something completely different than what I thought. So, but for me, you're asking me, it would be spend that quality time with my family. I wouldn't go outside that. It's not me being selfish. It wouldn't be anything for me other than knowing that I can share, to your point, my last words of wisdom, making sure that they are taken care of. Again, it's that safety and security issue. That would be my last 30 days, would truly be making sure that everything is positioned so that transition without Gerry is comfortable and meaningful for them, and don't have to struggle without me being around. And a lot of that has to do with the physical property, right? And money, and making sure that they're taken care of and they can take care of the grandkids. And that's the first thing that I would want to make sure that's all in place. But then the next one is to truly have these kind of intimate conversations with not only my wife and my children and my grandchildren, and let them pick my brain until my last breath, to where I could share the love with them. That's really how I would want to spend that. I don't have a rare and exotic location I want to go in the last 30 days, unless we could all just pop on a private jet and sit on a island where we could have these conversations where that would be wonderful if I could have that setting very comfortable for everybody at the same time. But really, that would be my whole dedication would be to ensure that those that I love and close to me, and of course there's some friends that certainly I'd want to have there to have that joyous burst of laughter that you have, because that's really critical. One thing I love watching your your podcast, and knowing Fred well, and knowing that he's very selective in the people that he spends quality time with. It's going to be riddled with laughter, because that is our go-to. It really is, isn't it? It's our go-to icebreaker. It's our go-to. Sometimes probably a little too much. But anyway, I go back to my family.
When I just got here, and he's been blowing up my phone since 4 while I'm getting my workout in.
Yeah. Oh, you
Because
work
I know
out? He works out?
What's that?
He said, "You work out." I said, "Listen,
I can pick three Freddies up.
I don't know anyone else at 4:00 in the morning that's awake that I can mess with, and it's not going to be bothered, and it's going to."
Oh, I am bothered. I am definitely bothered. But
that's
what
funny.
can I do?
I know, but the humor is great though. I mean, that's a. I gotta have fun going out, man. It can't be all boo-hoo and sad that Gerry's moving on. It has to be a celebration, and pick my brain. Let's get it set up so you can go out, you can have the rest of your life and enjoy your life without any regrets of asking Dad anything.
Yep.
Gerry, you talked about the humor component. What is humor masking? From pain, man. And so. Yeah, people say, and I've heard that my family's like, Fred, you're one of the funniest guys I know, and you say some really witty shit, and so I'm like, yeah, and we have a good time with it, and it feels like a compliment, but the truth of the matter is, behind that is a lot of fucking pain.
Yeah.
And that the alcohol ain't gonna do.
No.
Ooh.
Alcohol.
No, it won't.
I've tried.
Many a time.
Yeah.
Many a time we have tried.
As a matter of fact, after this podcast today, we're We're going to celebrate a
It's
little
5
bit.
o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, and we're going to find out where it's 5 o'clock, and we'll be there. But you know what? It's our day off. No one's home, and we're going to have a good time. And for all the work, Jerry, we got to find some times to celebrate as well.
Absolutely.
Right?
Amen.
And for in a normal day, that might be birthdays, and you see, right? Today's the 4th of July, man.
Yeah.
Today's the independence of what I believe is the greatest nation in the world, despite all of its fuck-ups. I am not here to say the United States is the most perfect country. I don't know of any veteran that would say that. But we do believe it's the greatest, man. We think it's the greatest because I don't know of any other place where you can come as an immigrant or start from wherever you start and have all the money, all the cars, all the houses, all the happiness, or none of that if you choose.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know it. And I'm grateful to having been born here. I'm sad that young people don't know that fucking joy. I'm sad. And I don't get into the politics of it all. I really don't comment politically, only to say that I challenge individuals who think otherwise. Please travel the world.
Yeah.
Please step outside this world, and you'll get an appreciation. I when I was younger, I got pulled over a lot, and I said stupid shit to the police officer. I like to think I was never disrespectful, but my words certainly were not uplifting. And
Still aren't.
You're just frustrated.
Yeah.
You just feel targeted, right?
Yeah.
And you might ask a question, but I never lost respect for police or anything like that. And I say that because we're in a time where there's some easy things to say about law enforcement, and just whole political statements have been made against law enforcement. And before that, I never had to think about it. And the next thing you know, I'm in the United States Army, surrounded by law enforcement in a way that I hadn't thought about before. I thought I'd be surrounded, but not my homeboys. I didn't know there would be my buddies. I thought they were going to be, I don't know. And I just, again, based on how you started off and your perspective, and next thing you know, I'm serving in the most decorated, awarded, distinguished military police battalion in the United States Army. I'm telling you, when we walked, and I had the honor of walking with that guide on. I had the honor of being the first sergeant's driver. As a matter of fact, Cesar, I'll show you a picture when we're done. There was a drawing. Remember that, Jerry?
It's phenomenal.
And on the window, it says 1SG Phelan and SPC Fuentes. And at the bottom of that fucking Humvee, it says 504. And I can't tell you something that I'm more proud of to own. Yeah. And it was you and I, man. You're the first sergeant, and I'm his driver. And so you think, there's driver. What does that mean? It means that I'm responsible for the safety of the leader of all of the troops. That's what I came home with, man.
Oh, you should. That's what it was meant to be. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was.
Can you share some of that? Can you share some of your perspective? See, by the way, Cesar had 20 phenomenal questions that we couldn't even get to because, and which I love. I love that we went places 100% unscripted.
Yeah.
But I know he wanted to learn a little bit more about what your leadership, what that time in the military has meant to you, Jerry, and not just in your leadership, but just in your everyday life as a civilian.
Yeah.
And that impact.
That is that's a very detailed answer because it's with me every day. And so, just to put it in perspective, you were 2 years old when I retired out of the Army. Okay, just putting the numbers out there.
And I was probably the same height that Fred was. or the Fred is.
I hate that joke.
Maybe
Good.
the girth. How about I just throw that out there?
That too. That too.
Move on. Gentlemen.
No, that's a great. So really, what drove me? Let me go through the steps real quick, and it won't be a long answer. But as a private in the Army, I experienced, like you did, Fred, going through basic training. In an environment and meeting people from parts of the United States that I've never seen and nor heard from. So I grew up in Portland, Oregon, albeit pretty, I would say, an eclectic, diverse background. And this isn't looking for sympathy or anything, but yeah, we didn't have a lot of money. Dad had polio. My dad was on crutches his entire life. So my dad was handicapped. Mm-hmm. But growing up, I didn't know my dad was handicapped. Right. And this is one of those, I didn't know I was really white amongst the blacks. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Yeah. So knowing that, and Dad working and getting around with crutches and these metal braces on his leg, who each one probably weighs 15 pounds, all the way up to his hips to keep his legs from dangling all over the place. So I grew up watching that guy get up and go to work all the time. So I approached the Army the same way. Hell, my dad can do it. Shit, I can do it. You know, who am I to? Who am I to say this is hard? I mean, come on. Look at the examples that I had every day growing up as a kid. He didn't complain. As a matter of fact, when you did try to give him help, man, you got the shit slapped at you. You know, it was like Dad would fall down, which had happened sometimes, right? And you go there, your natural reaction is to go help. No, don't, I got this. So anyway, I used that approach early on in the Army that I don't know anybody's help, right? I can do this. But I knew it was right and wrong always. I knew that there were some drill sergeants, man. They would target soldiers because they obviously have experience. They would target those ones that knew that they need to wash out, and they would target them easily. Or they target the guys that they knew had some shit to prove. And I was one of those guys.
Bad man.
I'm not saying that I put it out there like, come, mess with me. But no, I was targeted a few times, and you knew what was right and wrong. And when you'd call it out, then they went right to you to see how much conviction you really had. Yeah. But they wouldn't break me. And I had a couple of occasions where I'd stand up for some of my fellow MPs going through this training that then they'd throw that at me and then, okay, you do it. And then, oh, by the way, because you want to go ahead and question it, guess what? The whole platoon gets to sit there and watch you do, you're beating your face and doing your push-ups in front of everybody until you can't, fall on your face, literally. So it was that kind of exposure I had as in basic training that it kind of took that hard stance that I knew I'd get through. And these guys, would target the drill sergeants. And then, of course, some of your peers would get pissed off because you've made life a little more difficult for them. But at the same time, when you're standing up for somebody, I felt okay with it. If I had to pick up Johnny, who just decided he was going to try snuff for the first time, which happened in the barracks, guy taking a big hit of snuff, man, passes out doing convulsions because he had an overdose of tobacco and kind of whatever the hell is happening. And then you got to call the drill sergeant and medics and all that stuff. Of course, you all get, you get to feel the pain of that guy doing something stupid, where in fact, I know I should have stopped him. I should have slapped it out of his hand, but I didn't. It's those kinds of things that kind of set the stage where I was watching what was right and wrong, Fred, and a young kid growing up into the Army. And then I would talk to various groups within the Army. I got exposed to, Puerto Ricans. I got exposed to Mexicans. I got exposed to more black folks from the inner cities of other locations. And I got to meet some really redneck white folks that frankly had great conversation with, but by God, man, they had some crazy thoughts and how they grew up, man. These guys were wrestling with alligators and shit down in Florida, and I'm like, whoa, man, that's some redneck crazy shit. So it was a culmination of what the United States had to offer. And going through this basic training environment, it was all cool to me. Like, hey, we're all doing one thing. We're training for war. We're going to war. And there's that fraternity, that brotherhood that you really start to really develop at that young age. But I found out that I could influence positive outcomes with my fellow soldiers. Not meaning I was trying to, but hey, what if we tried this? What if we did this? And then I learned how to question authority without questioning authority. And so I use that to my benefit. And so how did I learn that? I don't know. Maybe just life experiences. You know, growing up as a kid, watching my dad do it. I can't put my finger on that. But I did learn how to work with people, regardless of race, color, creed, any of that, because I didn't take it into consideration. It was just another person that was going through the same struggles as I did with. But how are we going to get through this shit, together? Because I don't want to do this alone. You don't want to do this alone. We've already made this commitment. We volunteered to do this. Let's get off our ass and fix it. And that's the kind of stuff I think that I learned on an early age in the Army, to where I could influence positive outcome, and not only my subordinates, but my peers, but my supervisors as well. So there's a really easy book out there. It was Manager. I think it's really simple stuff. Where I didn't realize that was a thing, but I figured it out. So, Fred, to answer that question and help people how I came up, I was always trying to figure out how I could learn from those others, be it subordinate or superior or peers. How am I going to take this and make it a better world? It really was. How can we? And I know that sounds cheesy to say a better world, but it really is one place at a time, right? It's that domino effect. I hope that it's going to eventually affect somebody or down the line. And I know I'm rambling here, it sounds like, but really that's what set the stage for me, and I was able to carry that through, 20 years in the Army, and we became very successful at it. But I was committed to it. I was committed to those that worked for me, with me, and who I worked for, because I really never doubted my mission, my commitment to what I was doing. And you find yourself questioning that sometimes. Really, what are we doing? What's the outcome? But you can't. Again, that's where that point about making that comment earlier. I don't have regrets. I can't. It would drive me crazy. So it's the decision I make and move on. Yes, that's the decision I make, and I tell my daughter. That's the decision I make, and I tell my grandkids. And I don't have to justify it. But if you ask me some more information, I'll tell you how I came to that conclusion. You don't have to agree with me, but this is how I did it. I didn't do it out of malice. I didn't want to do it out of hurt. I felt that was the best decision at the time. I could tell you how screwed up it was. Absolutely. Would I have done it differently? Would I call it regret? No. But do I have enough information now to where I would have probably addressed that a bit differently? Probably. In some regards, but not always. So, I don't know if that kind of helps with the question you were asking, Fred. I don't know if I even hit the answer.
Well, and to your point, we talk about regret often. As a matter of fact, I think that needs to be one of our podcasts, just a topic on regret. It's so powerful. The point when I also say, like, I don't have any regrets, and one time my spouse was upset with me, and she was like, you don't regret this and this and this, and like, I understand the emotional consideration of seeking regret, but the male mind, I believe, thinks this: I can't change it.
Yeah.
So using the word regret, if it'll make you feel better, I'll use it. I can't change if I said something not nice, if I believed in corporal punishment, if I spanked my son 2 or 3 times too many than needed to be. I cannot change any of that, Gerry. You cannot change, and that's what you're saying. But other members of our communities, right, and people in our families, that word regret might have another interpretation.
Yeah.
I think that for men, and when you said that, it just spoke to me as well. Is like, I can't change my actions, but if I could go back, if you want me to time machine, go back and modify my actions, certainly, if that ability existed. Mm-hmm. But because it doesn't, we must push forward learn from our mistakes, right? All these beautiful adages that our parents and grandparents and great grandparents gave to us is because it was true for them, and
Yeah.
it is true for us, and it will be for our children and grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot worry about, I think, um, a certain level of national politics because it's not going to influence you. But you want to have an impact, go run for school board.
Amen.
You really, really want to change the world? What Mother Teresa said, go home. Men, you really want to have an impact, take your ass home, man. That's what I learned. Take a day of vacation, take a week of vacation. Find a job, whatever the situation is. Or maximize your weekends.
Yeah.
You know, but regret, you just can't live like that. You would be lost in yesterday and never live today, man.
Mm-hmm.
And you would
Well
certainly never be able
Well
to
said.
appreciate tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Can I quote you on that?
You can quote. We're looking for something we say and put on a T-shirt. That might be the
Right
one.
there. I like it. I like that one.
You probably don't even remember what you just said.
Caesar's is gonna. I don't remember. Caesar's T-shirt is gonna say. It's gonna have a finger. It's gonna say he's artistic.
Actually, that's not a bad idea. I'm gonna have my sister-in-law make it for next episode. I'm definitely gonna do that.
I like it.
Like putting the real word on it, not artistic.
Yeah.
You
I love
can't.
it.
You know what we say is like. He said they're gonna cancel us. He said, dude, we're not relevant enough to be canceled. Okay.
No, we're not.
We don't matter.
You get with you. I'm so done with you. I know we took a lot more than the hour that we had asked, so we sorry for that, but it's great conversations that we're having. I think one of the last things, just to close it out, and what we and the conversations and the podcast episodes, most of the times, is what is the legacy that you want to leave behind to your family, your grandchildren? What is that one last thing that you want to leave for them?
Wow. 1, 2, 3. Record? No. That's a wow. Yeah. Really was just a good man, and really cared for, just really wanted to live and provide a safe, comfortable world for everybody to live in. And I know that I would love to be able to drill that down and say it's specific for my family, that they would see that and live that and feel that. But I'm not so sure that they would agree with that. That was my legacy. But I know that I don't think there's anybody that would disagree. And not just because I spent 40 plus years, with the federal government trying to, make the world a better place. But really, there is a lot to be said with that in my mind. I was just a selfless servant for the betterment of the United States of America, and it really would hope that it would have that effect on my family, my immediate family, that they see that and go, yeah, we agree with that, and that's a beautiful thing, Dad. Thanks for sharing that.
I love that.
I can honestly say that I could do that does translate. Now, that's a tough one for the family to hear, I bet, but that's true. That's the truth.
Well, you're right, man. It's tough because the legacy we strive to leave, the legacy we think we've left. The difficulty is our families know the emotional side of them.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you were to talk to my university colleagues, they would tell you Dr. Fuentes is one of the hardest working, selfless, giving. Okay, they're gonna give it to you like that. But my family doesn't know me as Dr. Fuentes. They don't know me as 4 a.m., 5 a.m. Dr. Fred to 10, 11 o'clock at night, Dr. Fred. They know Dad wasn't home. and that's hard.
Yep.
That's the difficulty, man. And they know that Dad rolled in late at night and left early in the morning, and sometimes Dad was moody or as my 12-year-old daughter says, Dad, your energy's off. Are you okay?
Wow.
Girl, what
I
you
love
know?
that. That's a
You
good
know about me?
response, actually.
Baby, what you know about energy?
I'm gonna use that one too, boy. There's a couple of good reminders
That
here. We'll see
definitely
how.
sounded like Rihanna for sure.
I'll let you know how they work with my wife. I'll
Yeah, good luck. Good luck. You try that. You try that with that Latina. Let's see what that Latina. Boy,
Yeah.
get your energy out this damn house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll be
You know,
seeing
but
when-
let me
you'll
say
see when
this,
we blacked
though,
out. Yeah.
Gerry, in your legacy, in your service to others, I saw it, I experienced it, and I'm appreciative of it. And so, if you hear from no one else today, man, thank you for that service to this great nation, to the military police corps, to the United States Army, and just to our communities, man, to our diverse communities. Gerry, what you don't know is Gerry is part of one of the very few white guys I know is in a black masonry. You know, that's true, right? There might be three of y'all. That's one of them. You know, and who do I got to call to have to? Hey, I want in on that too, right? But you know, your awareness for diversity is really appreciated, and your awareness for the community, and just let me take a moment also, like, if you're listening today and if you're seeking mentorship and guidance, I hope that you'll consider reaching out to a veteran. I hope that you know that men and women who served, men and women who were in law enforcement or first responders or school teachers and who were elected officials, the amount of knowledge they can share with you. If you're seeking a very truthful, honest approach to being mentored into leadership, I hope that you will consider your local veteran community as a resource. Again, the honesty is the secret right there. You have to. It's going to toughen you up a little bit.
Yep.
But I think that's what our country needs to get back to.
Yeah.
I see. You know, side note. The other day, someone was asking me about, hey, what do you think about flag burning? I said, flag burning? I mean, it's material. It's just material. What about burning of the United States flag? I said, now you're hitting me on my emotions. Now I go from it's material, it's just a synthetic fiber, to a representation of what I think this country is. And they said, well, does it offend you, and would you do something about it? I said, well, those are two different questions. Yes, I'm offended. Two, I wouldn't do anything about it. I think the Constitution protects you and allows you to burn flags. But I should warn you, I am not the majority. I'm a minority. My brothers and sisters over here, they might fuck you up. But me, I'm going to let you know that is well within your rights. But be advised that I am not like everybody else.
No, you're not.
Okay? And I say that respectfully.
Yeah.
That if you're burning flags, I would never grab any other nation's flag and burn it in protest. Again, that's just Fred the individual. I'm not getting into politics. I'm only saying that when someone asked me. And so if I could make that my last question for you, retired United States Army military policeman, that's total setup, right? What are your thoughts, though, on the current political wave happening in our country and flag burning and well, I just, again, maybe we don't put this part on the podcast, but what are your thoughts on that, man? Just because I was asked, and I'm interested in getting another veteran's perspective on that.
Yeah.
I also recognize that you're wearing a T-shirt with the American flag, so you might be biased.
Yeah. No, I'm not. Yeah, I wear it with pride. There's no doubt about it. Is it bothersome that people do that? Oh, it hurts me to the core. But I have respect for anybody that's done time in the military. We have respect for the rule of law and you know our government. We have to safely say that we've made, and I say safely, and we made a choice to volunteer to serve, right? And there is that Constitution, and our system has said it's okay as a First Amendment right to burn that flag. Now, do I like that? By no means. Would I physically jump into there to prevent it? I can't say yes or no. It would depend on where I'm at, how it's perceived, where my emotional level is. But frankly, I've gone through this question in my head a lot of times. So I think it would have to answer that would be it depends on whether I would actually do that, and the message that's behind that, and whether somebody's really going to get hurt behind it too.
Yeah.
If it's just, you know, I think there's a lot of variables there that would really get me to be physically involved in the removal of somebody from doing that. So I have to say that, but I don't like it. So the bigger question that you are asked. Again, and I don't know if I told you this story, Fred, but perfect example, I'm out on recruiting command. I'm in Portland, Oregon. Everybody knows, well, not everybody, but the majority of people that are listening probably know that Portland, Oregon is a very liberal part of the country.
Yeah.
And I'm at a restaurant/bar. I won't say the name. In downtown Portland, it's a great place to hang out and have good drinks and good Greek food. Okay. I have a friend of mine that introduces me to the owner of this place. And again, I have a friend. I'm recruiting. I'm in the Army. I'm in Portland, Oregon, my own home. I know how liberal the city is. I know that I am not the norm in that city. But I'm okay with it because that's what the United States is all about.
Yeah.
So the first Gulf War was going on, and I'm sitting at the bar, and I'm drinking my little toddy, and the bartender / owner of this place is at the other end of the bar talking to a couple of patrons that are talking about how they're going to go to the parade where they're what's the word I'm looking for? They're it's not a parade. I mean, they're actually going out there to protest. Thank you. Protest the war. God, I forgot where I was going there for a second. Protest the war. And I'm listening to this, and they're all three of them. They're getting all riled up, and they're yeah, we'll meet you tomorrow. We'll have this, and they're talking about the logistics and what they're going to do. And then the guy comes down to the other end, and I was introduced to him from my friend who is a good friend of his, but he knows nothing about it. I just happened to be at the bar, and I'm at the other end. He says, we're just chatting away. And he goes, so, hey, what do you do? He asked, great conversation. I go, yeah, it's a great question. I said, I'm in the United States Army. I'm military police. He goes, you thought this guy was going to die. I mean, he stopped in his steps. He steps back literally from the bar and completely humble. Oh my God, I'm sorry, this and that. I mean, he was apologizing. Because he truly was he's a really nice guy. I don't think he wasn't trying to offend anybody. He was apologizing. And probably because he owns the place and he wants my money, right? I probably sure there was something behind
some of that.
But he was really, truly sincere. You know when people are trying to put it.
Yeah.
This guy was sincere, straight up, and he goes, apologizing, Gerry, I'm not. And I said, whoa, hold up. Dude, man, this is fantastic. I don't care. You can have that. That's the beauty of this country, isn't it? No. And he stepped back and he goes, that is not what I expected to hear from you. I said, you're going to hear that answer probably from 99% of the people that are serving the Army or serving any service. Because that's what we believe in. We believe in this country. To your point, Fred, earlier, heart. Ain't no one going to beat that, man. Ain't no one going to beat it. No one's going to beat it. And so that's the larger picture to your point. I'm dedicated to the big picture. And you know what? Say all you want. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I'm going to salute the flag, and I'm going to support what is in the best interest of the United States. Whether you think it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. Those are in those leadership positions for a reason. We voted them in there. I have to back up those decisions. I don't have to like them, but I'm gonna weather through it, just like you said, Fred. It's okay. I'm not worried about it. It'll take its course. The good people
and that's
in
what
this
family
world will
does.
take its course.
That's what family does, right? Like, it's a perfect example. We don't love all the things that maybe family members say. We love them all the same, man. So, you know what, Gerry, thank you so much for your time, for your knowledge, and I'm super appreciative that I had the opportunity to see you again after so many
It's been
years.
a great visit. Yeah, absolutely.
And let's find an excuse, Caesar, to get to Florida.
Let's book it.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually in Houston right now, guys.
Oh, you're in Houston. That's right.
Yeah, I'm right down the road, man. We're here until middle of August.
Okay, after this, we're
Well,
gonna
yeah.
don't
After I stop the recording, don't hang up.
Don't hang up. Listen,
Okay.
Gerry, thank you so much for being here.
No, this has been fun. Thank you.
I have one last thing to ask you,
Yeah.
there's no answer.
Okay.
Who loves you, baby?
Oh, baby,
You be running.
Love it.
And this guy would pass me up. And he said, "Who loves you, baby?"
Who loves you, baby?
And I said,
Who loves you?
"Leave me alone." That's bullying. Okay, you know my legs are this big, and it takes me 12 steps for your run.
Remember this though? Remember this?
That's right. He would make me run. He would run like this. Listen.
No, you got that from Action Jackson. Action Jackson taught you that.
If you don't feel your run, if you run when you were doing this stuff.
It's almost like a distraction and shit.
To this day, I still do that, man. I went on a 2-mile run yesterday, and started off doing my thing, and then I had my phone, but I was monitoring my watch, and then I put my phone down, threw it down into the grass, and then just started massaging my fingers when I finished that run to get my time in.
Yeah.
Gerry, man, thank you so much, man. Let me say this. I love you, man. I love you as a brother, as a mentor, and as someone who was there when I was 18, 19 years old, man. I couldn't have asked for anything better. And again, guys, women, if you're listening, reach out to mentors of your community that have life lessons and are willing to share.
Yeah.
It's super impactful, and I hope we get to do this again. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Amen.
See ya.
All right,
Thank you,
guys.
guys.
See you,
See you next week.
All right.